We all have surprise events that take place in our life. Sometimes they're good, but very often they're bad. Especially as we get older, we have a lot of health issues that happen, and that's happened to me. We can have other things happen, car accidents, problems laid off from work. And they can affect us in something that, using the term empty tomb syndrome. And that happens when we panic, when this surprise event happens, and we just focus on the immediate problem. So how do you react to a trial that you never expected would happen, but suddenly it's happened and your life has changed? You know, the point is we need to see past the problem. And I'm going to give you an example of that in John 20, verse 1. You can turn there. And the title of this sermonette is Empty Tomb Syndrome. And let's take a look at how Mary Magdalene faced just such a trial after Jesus' crucifixion. So reading from John 20, verse 1. Now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Then she ran and came to Simon Peter and the other disciples, whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Note that the tomb was empty. She expected it to be there, that Jesus to be there, and she was going to treat the body properly. But she panicked. She totally panicked when the unexpected happened, which to her at that time was bad news. She focused entirely on Jesus' body not being there. And she didn't think about the promises he had made. In the backstory, Jesus had delivered Mary Magdalene from 7 demons, exorcised them. She became a follower of Mary. And she traveled with Jesus. She watched him heal the sick. She watched him cast out demons from other people. She listened to his sermons. So she must have been aware of his prophecy about his death and resurrection. Yet when she went to the tomb on Sunday morning, she was shocked because Jesus was gone. She panicked. She forgot all that Jesus had taught her at that moment. And she just focused on the empty tomb. Now, Jesus had said in Matthew 12:40, "For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth." So she knew that because she had heard Jesus speaking. She had traveled with Jesus and the disciples. So she knew that. But at that moment, that surprise that she didn't expect, she just panicked. Well, Mary's issue is also ours. Just as she heard Jesus, well, we read his word in the Bible. Just as she believed Jesus, we believe Jesus. But that sudden, unexpected event threw her off balance. It caused her to forget what she heard from Jesus. And therein lies the danger when we are caught off guard. We can't afford to lose our focus on God's plan and God's promises because of any unexpected event. Well, we will face unexpected events in our lives. How are we going to deal with it? How are we going to face the next surprise? Now, we all have faith that Jesus is our Lord and Savior, but will we be shaken like Mary when she saw the empty tomb? And will we have an empty tomb syndrome? Or will we focus on God and God's plan? And we don't know how God may be pointing out what we lack or strengthening us or developing us in a certain area. But we can't panic and lose focus. He will help us like he helped Mary Magdalene to see the past, to see when Mary saw the empty tomb. Now let's take a look at how Jesus did handle Mary Magdalene and bring her back on track. And he can do the same for us should we panic in that way and have an empty tomb syndrome. So I'm going to continue in John 20, verses 11 through 16. But Mary stood outside of the tomb weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. Then they said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." So now God, through his angels, is now intervening. Now we can expect God to intervene in our own life, but we have to listen to what they're saying, how this is working out, and how God will intervene. Because God will in some way intervene in our lives. Continuing on in verse 14. Now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there and did not know it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" She, supposing him to be the gardener, said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him, "Rabboni," which is to say, teacher. Was her aha moment where Jesus straightened her out. Jesus was standing there, but she didn't recognize him. When we go through our personal trials and we have that surprise moment, do we realize that Jesus is standing there? Will we recognize him? Once we recognize him, the healing process can begin. But if she didn't recognize him, there'd be no healing process. But she recognized him. And just as she recognized him, he will stand with us also. So God opened her eyes to spiritual truth when she recognized Jesus. And the issue of the empty tomb is resolved. And it can be the same for us, because we will be hit with all kinds of surprises in our life. And that's not the time to panic. That's the time to draw close to God and ask him to deliver us through this trial, whatever way it leads. God will open our eyes and deliver us through this surprise event, no matter how bad. Mary panicked and did not see past the problems. She saw only the empty tomb. The key takeaway for us is we need to pray for help and insight when we are blindsided, so that we don't panic and we don't have our own empty tomb syndrome. Because we know that God is there and we need our spiritual eyes opened. Jesus will do that at the right time and place. Remember, Jesus was close by Mary, and he will be close by us as we go through our trials and our surprise trouble.